Nubian Incognito.
Okay. So I know before you mentioned something about NHS. And I know when it comes to, especially being an American citizen, when people are comparing countries, one of the pros of being a British citizen is the fact that you guys receive free healthcare. So I wanted to kind of ask about how that works now, because you were saying that NHS was one of the reasons behind Brexit. So now, how is healthcare in the UK? Is it still something viable, although it's free? Is it something that's struggling because it's free? Because I just kind of wanted to get your insight on that.
Yeah. Okay, do you know what is with the NHS? I love talking about the NHS because I think that it's just so interesting to talk about, and like I don't think people are actually looking at the severity of what could happen if we don't sort it out. So with the NHS already now, it's financially drained. So when I mean that, like you can literally see it. It's not one of those ones where it's just like, oh, okay, the NHS needs money. It says it on paper. You can walk into a hospital and you can literally see that there is not enough staff for the patients. Like the ratio is ridiculous. Like you can go to, I don't know, a big hospital, say King's College. My mum works there, and you can find like maybe like 8 staff attending to over 200 patients. Is ridiculous. And what it is that we don't have the money to pay more nurses. Nurses are already underpaid. We don't have enough money to invest in like new research stuff, medicine, and it's been going on. It's a constant ongoing thing that's been happening, and I just think it's because we don't. It's not private. The NHS is not private. They take money from taxes, and where they can. So it's like we're always going to be short-staffed. We're always not going to have enough money, because if you increase taxes, you're going to have people complaining. So it's kind of like a lot of people are even converting to private healthcare because they feel like NHS isn't good enough anymore. You can be on waiting lists for years. Some people have been on waiting lists for years.
What? So when you say waiting lists, like waiting lists like, seen or?
So like waiting lists in the sense that, like, for example, like treatment. You might have, because NHS, as I said, you don't pay money up front, like, oh, I want to have an operation, you pay. So a lot of it's done through your taxes. So you can walk into hospital now and be seen without paying anything, or receive, I don't know, a minor operation without doing anything. But to get that minor operation, the problem is how long you have to wait. You could wait. Some people have been on a waiting list to receive, I don't know, let's say, a new kidney for years, heart for years, anything, like anything, like even minor operations, like or even going to accident and emergency and having an emergency, you might wait for 4 hours. So how can you?
It's funny that you say that, because here in America we pay for our health care, but we still have to wait 4 hours in an emergency room depending on what happens.
Yeah,
in the emergency room lobby, throwing up into a bag until they're
it's ready to be seen.
Yeah.
The problem with our one, like the US is a mess in terms of their healthcare because everyone's paying so much. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that because at one point it wasn't as bad, people are not happy. Like some people have been some people wait. I saw the other day on Twitter someone talking about a suicidal prevention healthcare assistant, and she's been on that list for 3 years, and she just eventually had to find. She was on that list for like 3 years, and I think they still haven't gone back to her, and she was just like, it just goes to show how much they don't kind of like, they're not attentive in a sense that what if she had decided to kill herself by then? Like, it's just that whole idea that even a minor operation, like, you can be there for months, like, or even like some people years, like you're there for months. Like I remember I had like a minor surgery. It was just like a fatty tissue like growing on my shoulder, and I was there. I was on the list, but like deliberating whether I needed it for a good 3 to 4 years.
Wow.
Constantly going in and out of hospital, talking about the same thing. So just because they don't have the resources to do everybody right now, they're overworked, they're overstaffed. There's not enough doctors. Enough nurses.
So when you say there's not enough doctors, I know here, granted, like sometimes if you don't know too many people, you may have an idea that just maybe from your perspective. But from what it seems like, being a nurse or a doctor is a lucrative career choice because you get paid a lot more guaranteed. So from what you're saying, are you saying that in the UK being a nurse or a doctor is not lucrative because they don't get paid a lot? Because there are doctors who can get paid upward $100,000 a year. So I'm just wondering how the wages work.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to the Nubian Incognito podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast channel for more fire episodes. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Nubian Incognito. If you have any responses or questions to anything you've heard on the show, at us and use the hashtag Nubian Incognito. Check out our website at nubianincognito.com for our fire global collection of jewelry and hats.
Nurses don't get paid well at all. At all. And what you have to understand is that the UK is extremely expensive to live in. Extremely expensive to live in. So in regard, their wage relative to living standards is poor. It's poor because if you think about it, if you live in London, it's extremely expensive. In fact, I moved to Kent and I still feel like it's bloody expensive. The wage that they get barely covers how much they need to survive. And being a doctor now, personally, being a doctor now, I'm not a doctor, but just looking at hours they have to work in relation to their wage, it's not worth it. It's not worth it at all. You barely get time for yourself because, as I said before, even if there's a lot of doctors, it's not enough for the amount of patients they have. So you end up working longer hours that are sometimes unpaid.
So I'm seeing here that I'm seeing here that the average nurse salary in the UK from pay scale is 20,000 to 35,000 pounds a year.
But it usually roughly 35,000 is usually when you're reaching the higher bands, and to reach them higher bands, you have to. It's a lot of work experience, showing that you've been in the field for a long time, taking a lot of tests. It's not really a thing where you can just join a role and you automatically end up at a high band. Wow. It's for long years. You have to prove. My mum has been a nurse for 15 years, and she only got increased her band once in her life. So it's ridiculous if you actually think about it, and a lot of them stay around that 29,000-30,000.
Yeah, I'm seeing about that. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So 20,000 pounds is $25,000.
Yeah.
And that's what? And that's a yearly salary for a nurse.
Salary. Yeah, a yearly salary.
So is nursing something that younger people do then to kind of get their feet into the healthcare industry? Because, that's a yearly salary for someone that may work at a fast food restaurant here in America.
Yeah, literally, that's exactly the problem. And what is before, what you find out, this is where it actually is not funny, because a lot of before, to do nursing, you didn't have to pay. Because with student finance, they're basically giving us a loan and you have to pay them back. So they pay for our school fees and you pay them back. Before, back in the day, doing a nursing degree, you don't pay it back because you're doing a thing for your country, you're working in healthcare. That grant, I think it stopped over a year ago. You have to pay them back. So what you find is that a lot of people felt like before joining the healthcare was in their best interest because they're not in debt. When they come out, they don't have to pay the government back because ultimately doing a nursing degree was for free. Whilst now it's changed. You have to pay them back just like any other student is studying a different course. And I think now what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now are suffering it because they don't get that paid that much. So what you find is that a lot of nurses back in the day now much, and nurses and people that have chosen nursing now are thinking, okay, well, is this even really, what's the point of doing this? Because I still have to pay them back. I'm not going to get paid that much. And I'm working silly hours. Like, I know students right now who have to do placement, which is like, how many hours? Maybe 40 hours a week, and you don't get paid nothing.
Wow.
Absolutely nothing. It's part of your degree.
Wow. And the thing is, like, and it's interesting hearing that, because all you hear is free healthcare, free healthcare. You don't hear all the back end that goes on with having healthcare. So now that I hear this, sometimes I'm just thinking, what's even better? Because, you know, here, people in the medical industry get paid well, but it's so expensive that it's a luxury. Like, I know for me, when I was in college, I felt very sick, and I was like 4 hours away from home, and my friends weren't available. So I called my mom, and she was like, oh, well, you should take the ambulance to the hospital, because it was coming to a point where my health was really in question, and I had been in my apartment for 2 days. And I wasn't getting any better. My mom was, you know, scared for my safety. And I told her, you know, I know how much it's going to cost to take an ambulance to the hospital. So I'll actually just Uber, because I'm not going to pay that fee.
Exactly.
And I didn't even realize at the time, but when I got to the hospital, that's when they explained to me that it's so common now for people to just take a taxi or Uber to the hospital, to and from the hospital. People will come, you know, in a taxi in labor, you know, or people will wait out certain procedures because they can't afford it. I really, as far as like a call to action for political leaders, there needs to be a medium for healthcare, because it can't be expensive to where only the people who are administering healthcare are benefiting. Like, these hospitals in America make so much money that it doesn't even make any sense. And then you have your end where you're talking about, you know, how the people who are administering the healthcare are struggling, and also people who are receiving it. Because what's the point of free healthcare if you have to wait months and years to get it? Or when you receive it, it's very low quality, so then your health is in question. You know, people could potentially be dying because they didn't receive proper healthcare because there are no nurses taking care of everyone on the floor.
Exactly. That's exactly, literally just put up in a nutshell. That's exactly the problem. Because I know being a doctor in the US is kind of more like, really respected, and like, you're probably getting a lot of money. Like a doctor, they're getting a little bit more than the average person. But if you think about the hours that they work, and probably the unpaid hours,
and the mental stress that comes with being a doctor,
it's mental stress, and you find a lot of doctors aren't happy, and I think that's the problem. A lot of people in the medical sector are not happy. They're literally working from back to back. They barely have a social life, personal life. They barely have families, and you find out, like, even the service that they're providing, they're doing their very best, but it's just not enough.
Would you want to live in a society where you had to pay for healthcare services?
I had this conversation with someone in my comments the other day, and they were just basically like, scrap the NHS, and I was like, no. I was like, even though it's poor and it's not really efficient, I think we need it. Like, I think it's something that will never ever. It's a dream to think that we'll have a thriving NHS. It's an absolute dream, because there's a lot of money that goes unaccounted for. Like, because we don't know exactly what the government does with all their money. There's a lot of people who are not prepared to pay higher tax. When you are in a position of making more money, no one wants to pay higher tax. We're never going to be in a position where the NHS is the booming industry, because then why do we have private healthcare? Then everyone would be like, why am I paying so much? Let me just go to the NHS. It doesn't work. There needs to be, in a way, it kind of does its job well by not doing that well, because in a way it makes it so something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know when I came to London, I saw some like private health services, like, you know, small stops and things like that, so people can come and get services, but they have to obviously pay for it. So
a lot of money, but I think we need NHS. A lot of people can't afford to make that change.
Yeah.
They can't afford and I think the little it does, like, even though it doesn't cater to everyone, it does still save some people's lives, and these people don't have money to be paying loads for minor treatments. I think we need it.
Okay, so being that you're a young person and this platform is for the younger generation, it's for everyone who's willing to listen, but I definitely wanted to touch on youth engagement in politics.
Nubian Incognito believes that music brings Black people of all cultures together. Follow us at Nubian Incognito on Apple Music, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Remember, Nubian Incognito puts you on. We have curated playlists with Black music from artists all over the world.
Spoke about voting and different things in the episode. So what is your opinion on how youth engagement works right now in politics? Are college or uni students voting? Are they aware of what's going on? Are they engaged?
I think what you find, I don't think it's even really a UK thing. It might be the same in the US. But what you find is that a lot of young people can't be bothered. They can't be bothered because, you know, with politics, there's no start and there's no end date. Like, you can't say, okay, this is where I'm going to start reading from. So I'm going to read everything and I'm going to become an expert. Politics has been like running from years ago. Like, even if you wanted to, you couldn't, because it just isn't possible. So what I think a lot of people do is they literally can't be bothered because they don't know where to start. And I think that's even one of the reasons why I thought, okay, let me just start. It's not because I was an expert, because I was not at all, but because a lot of these job people, like your employers, they ask you about political stuff, whether you know X, Y, and Z, and all these things. And a lot of young people don't know. And it's not that they're not interested, it's just that they don't know where to start. And they don't know how to go about it, and they don't know who to side with. They don't know what the right political view is to have. So a lot of people just kind of fall into, I would say, like a bandwagon. Like, if there's a person to hate, you just find a little bit of that, oh, I don't like them because of X, Y, and Z. They don't really thoroughly look into it because they just probably think, okay, he's prime minister, or she's prime minister for now, but I know in a few months it might be somebody else, so what's the point of me doing my research? I think that idea and that mentality, for me anyway, I think I see it in a lot of young people. They just can't be bothered to read about it.
Wow. How is politics or the government taught to you through education? Like, how did you learn about all the things you know about politics in the UK?
The thing is, it's never taught unless you actually study politics and international relations. And even if you do study politics and international relations, because my best friend actually studied it, you don't actually learn what's currently happening. It's more of a thing where it's kind of like history, basically history of politics. With me, I've always had an interest, like a bit of an interest. I was never someone who researched intensely about it, but I always kind of had a rough feel of what was going on. I always had a rough idea of who was who and what was going on. I wasn't an expert, but I knew where to look. But I think what motivated me to get into it was I can't remember, I had like a little like meeting or something at like a company, and I found that they really think it's important. Not really think, it is important, sorry, to know what's happening around you, because a lot of what's happening around you influences their decision making.
Right.
And I think that once I had grasped that understanding, I need to understand what's going on, and I need to understand the different decisions and laws that's being put out, because the companies I'm applying for abide by these laws. I literally automatically started doing more research for myself, and then thought, okay, why not just tell others about it?
Okay.
So, yeah.
How can more people in general get involved in British politics? Like, what are some suggestions you have for people to become involved or informed on what's going on in the UK, in Britain, or in general?
I think that how I would suggest is literally just Google is your best friend. Obviously, don't take everything you see like as Bible, like, yeah, this is exactly what happened. But I think the news does really good coverage on it. Like, I watch Sky News. I can, not all the time because I can't bother, but when I can. And I think just reading, like there's literally some one-page article that sum things up, like BBC News, you have Sky News, they're all competing to kind of put the same content in, and a lot of them are trying to appeal to younger audiences, so they try to be as brief as possible. So I just always encourage people, like, okay, even if you read an article at least once a week, you'll kind of be on top of whatever's happening. And then you have other side of things, like business stuff, there's like The Economist and all these other magazines which you have to subscribe to, but they do keep you noted and they do send you alerts and notifications, and I think once you read that weekly, you're on top of your game.
Okay, so I guess this is kind of something that I just wanted your opinion about, and it's on Meghan Markle living there. Like, what's your opinion on her, or like how people perceive her? Because I know from here in America, people favor her, but we don't know too much about what's going on. So you actually being a British citizen, like, what's your opinion on her or the British family in general?
With the British family, I didn't really look into it that much, but when the Meghan Markle marriage happened and they're coming together, I feel like there was, how can I say, there was two sides. I won't say two sides, but two from sides. I think there was a lot of people who were like, yes, she's black, even though she's rich, whatever, she's black. This is like black is in the royal family now. And then you have magazines like The Sun and all these, like, they're not factual, but they're just kind of like entertainment magazines who were kind of trying to slander her. Like, how can like a suit actress be in the royal family, and she's unprofessional, and you can see some headlines where they kind of like look at the way she's dressing, and she's dressing moderately, but they're just trying to find anything to pick at her. And I think there's that division. You have some people who are like, I don't like her, but then it's like, what? She hasn't done enough for you to not like her. She hasn't really said anything. She's been very quiet, and I think because she knew that in this step she's taking, she's going to receive a lot of widespread hatred. And I think we're definitely seeing that with Meghan Markle. I think a documentary is even coming out about how she's lost her sparkle, she's ruined the royal families. Like, people are literally making up stories about her. Some people say it's her skin tone. Some people say it's because they didn't expect her to be married into the royal family. And I think, there's black people are all for her. I think you come to the UK, you find that. And then you have some people that are just like, I don't like her, like, and they can't really give a reason. So yeah.
Whether you're from Barbados or Cameroon, we have a hat for you. On NubianIncognito.com, we have a mega collection of merchandise for you to rock your culture and country. Go check out our collection today.
Okay, because like I said, I don't know much about her, but I do remember, when they became engaged or whatever, it's like, oh, she's black, and I guess some people were their racism kind of came out when she was married into the family, because it wasn't something, from what I understand, racism isn't something that's like too in your face in the UK as it is here in America.
Yeah, 100%.
But when it came to her,
100%. You saw it.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That kind of wraps up my question for today. Is there any last words or anything you want to share with people concerning British politics and Brexit?
Internet. It's the internet boy, Netty Parker. Nubian Incognito put you on. Make sure y'all go stream that new music video, Like Me. Yeah, make sure y'all go follow me on social media at Who Is Netty. And that's Instagram, Twitter, and wherever else you can find me. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. Hey. When you're not real off the rip, you deserve everything you gon' get. It's funny how these bitches talk shit. Well, it's cool, they gon' be on my dick. Been through so much shit that I done came in this hole. I got a shorty tryna fuck me for some cash flow. It's kinda funny, got me money, got me fucking every honey. Think I'm broke, well it's cool, I'm a player like a dummy. Cause shawty only fucking with some ballers. Shawty only fucking with some niggas who don't call her. Shawty only fucking with some dope dealers. Shawty ain't fucking with no broke niggas like me. She don't like them like me. She don't date them like me. She don't like them like me. Hey. I gotta get this shit back on the road. I used to care about what bitches used to tell me in school, but I don't give a fuck, I can't give it up. Bitch, I'ma set it off. My first name Vivica, I gotta get enough. Got chicks are sitting ducks. I'm working hard, making sure that I can lift this up. My bread was low and now it's getting to the sky now. I bet you hoes wanna motherfucking climb down, but shawty only fucking with some ballers. Shawty only fucking with some niggas who don't call her. Shawty only fucking with some dope dealers. Shawty ain't fucking with no broke niggas like me. She don't like them like me. She don't date them like me. She don't like them like me.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me, by the way. Like, it means a lot to speak on your platform and stuff. I love what you guys stand for. And just any last thing is just that, yeah, like, just Google stuff and just be aware of what's going on, just because you don't want these companies, these businesses to have a reason to fault you when you know that you've got the qualifications and the work experience and stuff. And these days they'll fault you for almost anything. And what I find is that it's a lot of ethnic minorities who are not up to date. Mm-hmm. And I don't want that to be a reason for them to hold us back. Okay. So just be knowledgeable, try to come to a lot of places with some level of understanding, because they will try to test you. And they will try to see what political side you are on, and just make sure that you know what you're talking about, because you don't want it to be a thing where they carry on prohibiting our progress because you don't know what's happening. Okay. And you won't bother to find out. So yeah, that's my advice to everyone listening.
I thank you so much for being here and giving your knowledge to this global platform and giving people a little bit more insight about what's going on in England. I really liked talking about NHS as well, because I know some people just hear, oh, they have free healthcare, and they don't hear anything else that's involved in it. There's pros and cons to everything. I'll give you some of your day back. And if you're listening to this podcast, please subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcast at Nubian Incognito. Leave comments and reviews. If you agree or disagree with anything that was said in this episode, use the hashtag Nubian Incognito on your social media, and follow us at Nubian Incognito. And yeah, everyone have a great day.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys.
You too.
All right. Bye.
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 Nubian Incognito.